Have you ever sat back and wondered how much money you need to spend before you can start your podcast? First of all, if you're a beginner podcaster, service provider, and you're looking to get into podcasting, ask yourself this question. Or have you ever sat back and wondered how much money do you need to spend on everything that you're thinking about to start a podcast that will actually make you some money? Now, some people going to say $1,000. Some people going to say $2,000, maybe $3,000. What if I told you that was the biggest flex lie in 2026? That's the biggest lie. All right. See, a lot of folk have been taught to build this immaculate podcast studio, and they see it on YouTube. They see it everywhere that they possibly need to see it at. All right. But what they don't understand is it's not the equipment that makes the podcast. It's the offer you make at the end of the episode that makes your podcast. Because you're talking about making money, right? See, everybody's out here asking, what mic should I buy? But nobody's asking, what am I actually selling? See, the word used to be called monetization, but now we have to get it to the point. We are trying to generate leads. We are trying to take potential clients and turn them into clients. But how can you do that if you have nothing that you want to sell, or you have nothing to actually be selling? You just can't do it. And see, that's what most podcasters think, and that's why most podcasters stay broke. Now, their content's going viral, but YouTube and TikTok and Instagram ain't paying you like that. So we're going to cut through the red tape. We're going to cut through all the BS. We're going to tune down the noise. And we're going to break down what gear you actually need in 2026. And we're going to talk about the ceiling, the cap, and why most podcasters, service providers, creators, content creators who are looking to get into this podcast game. But we also going to explain to you why the ones who are out here making six figures, they don't have the expensive setup. They have an offer that's irresistible. They have that Godfather offer. It's so irresistible, you can't say no to it. So with that being said, let's get it.
Welcome to Podcast for Profit, the show where podcasters become CEOs. I'm your host, Tony Porter, and every week I'm giving you the strategy, systems, and game you need to grow your audience, monetize your message, and build a seven-figure podcast business. No fluff, no cap, just real results. Let's get into it.
Yo, what up? Welcome back to Podcast for Profits. This is that show, man. This is the show that turns your voice into a revenue generating machine. Your story into strategy, and of course, your side hustle into a full-blown empire. Now, y'all know who I am. If you don't, let me explain it. I am your host, Mr. Anthony Porter. And if you're new here, man, listen, welcome. Let me tell you what we do. We don't just teach you how to start a podcast, all right? We teach you how to monetize it. We teach you how to build funnels. We teach you how to turn strangers into super fans, listeners into paying clients without begging in your DM. See, that's the old way. Without running ads you can't afford. Listen, we tight right now. The budget's tight. And then we do not want to sell our soul to the algorithm, all right? Me, I'm from the block, baby. I'm from the block and made it to the boardroom. We keep it 100. We keep it rooted. We 10 toes in, we 10 toes down, and we keep it as profitable as we can. Now, today, it's crucial for me to say this today, because if you're planning to launch or even thinking about just taking your podcast to a different level in 2026, this is for you, because here's what's happening right now. The barrier of entry is so low, and it's lower than ever. So you can record a podcast on an iPhone. And trust me when I tell you, please believe me when I tell you this. Most of your major podcasters started using a simple setup, a simple iPhone, some headphones that came with the iPhone, some simple software, and we're going to talk about all of that, all right? See, you got to learn how to monetize, but you got to have good quality. We're going to raise the bar on where to go from start to finish, from beginning to end. Now, this requires some strategy. It doesn't require a Shure SM7B. I'm sorry. It doesn't require that. What this requires is your brand being new or established. It requires planning. You have to sit back and you have to think, how do I get myself seen in this crowded field? It's strategically done. So you have to plan. But again, it's not the equipment. And we're going to talk about gear. We're going to talk about what you need, what you don't need. We're going to talk about everything that could possibly get you to that point. It's all gas, no brakes. But what you don't understand, and most importantly, we're going to talk about the real investment, your offer, your funnel, your follow-up. That's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about all of that. Okay? So stick with me. This is going to save you thousands of dollars and probably make you tens of thousands more. So this is the reason why we want to tap in with this. We want to get this together, and we want to make sure that we are on the up and up, okay? So if you're ready, grab your pen, grab you something to drink. Let's get to it. So when it comes to podcasting, a lot of people think about gear, all right? So there's 3 different levels to this game, all right? You have a starter level, a mid-level, and a high level. So we're going to start off with the starter level, the minimum valuable setup. Right now, this is your starter kit. This is somewhere between $100 to $250. This is, excuse me. This is what I call not the pocket breaker. Most of y'all walking around right now with a $1,000 studio in your pocket, but you haven't realized that because you never figured out how to just tap in without just saying answer calls, go to social media, and text all the damn time. Okay. So 2026, let's talk about how powerful your phone is. Your phone is more powerful than most radio stations, and that has been proven over the last 20 to 25 years. So don't think about waiting to purchase that $400 mic and that $1,200 interface. You stalling. You got it right there on your phone. So here's what you need to get started. Write this down because this is going to help you. Okay. Now, number 1, you're going to need a decent USB microphone. Make sure, especially if you have an iPhone, and I think most Androids, I'm strictly Apple. So if somebody out there can correct me or help me out, a decent microphone, decent USB microphone. Most of them are using USB-C right now. You start about $50 to $100. The ATR 2100X or the Samsung Q2U. Both of these is under 100. They sound good. They're plug and play. So you just plug it in, plug it into your phone, press record, and now you have good quality sound going on. You're going to need a pair of headphones. You want to be able to hear yourself, the playback. So you really do need to hear yourself so that you're not yelling and you're not mumbling. Right, $30 good pair, $50 good pair, so don't overthink this. You can get some headphones off of Amazon to get started. Most of the stuff you can get off Amazon. Now, for those who don't understand, you can record 3 different ways for free. Zoom is one. I wouldn't recommend it because the sound quality is not as good. But GarageBand and Audacity are free. iPhone users, GarageBand is definitely on your phone. Android users, you can put Audacity on your phone. Like I said, you have a walk-in studio already in your pocket. So, and then the last thing you're going to need is a quiet room, not a studio, just a room, bedroom, closet, something with some carpet on the floor. I got some soundproof curtains in my office. Plus, I got them darkened out. I don't need all that extra light. I started out in my dining room, and then I grew into an extra bedroom into the house and turned it into a podcast studio. All right. And then I grew into my studio. But all of this was done over time. Now, if you think about what I just said, the starter kit at max is $250. That's at max. So you don't need $1,000 to get started. And a lot of folk, they keep procrastinating because they keep on saying, I need to get this. I need to get that. No, you really don't. What you need to do is you just need to become better at what you do. All you need to do is turn your microphone on and hit record. Now, some of y'all probably have looked and seen that I have a Rode pod mic, or some people love to use the Shure. Some people want to have a DBX 286 compressor. Listen, you really, you can start like the Rode pod mic. It's under $100, and guess what? It's plug and play. It's USB. I can use it as a DSLR mic. I can use it as a USB mic. It's got headphone jack in here I can plug in. So I can do everything that I need. I don't have to sit around and wait. So say I spend about $80 to $100. I got an iPhone and this pod mic. Only thing I need is a boom arm, and then I'm good. I can do everything I need to do. All right. Now I've seen people with $5,000 setups only have 12 downloads and 0 clients. See, your listeners don't care if you are recording on one of the top mics in the podcast industry. All they want you to do is solve a problem. They don't care about the mic. They care about the solution. They have a problem. You have the solution. You need to meet them in the middle. And when you meet them in the middle, they want to see the transformation for the solution that you are offering. That's it. Man, you sitting around trying to buy $1,000 mic, Eddie, and all of that, that ain't going to work, especially if you're on a budget. Now, if you want to level up after you get about 10 to 15 to 20 good episodes in, and you got a little piece of change coming in, your audience is starting to grow, you're starting to see some return on investment, you get a couple clients, you start teaching, now you can start trying to level up, all right? But until then, try to stay on that budget level. Now, if you want to get that level up set up, that runs you about $500 to $1,000. That's about the range. And so this is where you upgrade to the dynamic microphone, or you can keep the same pod mic, Rode pod mic. Now, here's the kicker. You want to sound professional. You want to reject the background noise. You want to make your sound. You want to make you sound more of like that you are sitting in a legitimate podcast studio, right? You're going to need an audio interface, the Forset Scarlett Solo or the Moto. They range from anywhere from $100 to $200. It gives you more control over your sound. It gives you some levels. They got some XLR mic inputs. And so you get your boom arm to go along with that, like I said, and a shock mount. A shock mount helps subtract the noise, all right? Get you some foam treatment. Now, the boom and the shock mount is probably $100. More than likely $100, depending on what you go with. Get you some basic treatment from Amazon. These are the foam panels. Even some blankets, anywhere from $50 to $100. I just bought some foam panels to finish treating my office here for about $25. I got about 450 panels. I'm going to do some damage. That's why the monitor came down. I mean, the TV came down. We're going to put the monitor up, but we're going to put sounding around that, okay? And then get you some editing software. Mostly grab Adobe Audition. Some will sit there and grab Descript. Those will cost you monthly, roughly about $30 a month, anywhere between $10 and $30 a month, okay? These tools will save you hours, though, and it's going to save you a whole lot of money. Because you got to think about it. If you're sending this out to be edited, you send it out on a Monday, you get it back on a Wednesday, and that bill's $1,500. You could have done all of this for about $250 to $1,000 on a budgetary setup and been great. Now, my setup, again, everything that I got, like I just recently purchased a new Mac Mini to run my studio. My stuff is small. I don't need all of that, okay? So cross your fingers, your podcast, assume, you'll get to that point, all right? Because the setup I use, when I cross 6 figures, I had to make sure that I sound great going on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and everywhere else. But it took time for me to get to that point. Like my first podcast, you could hear the quality and the sound was terrible. So it's all according on how you sit there and how you level up your bread in order for you to be very profitable in your game. You got to remember this. Even at this level, the gear is not the controlling factor. The controlling factor is your content, your story, and your call to action. So podcasts without a call to action just doesn't work for a lot of people. I can't say you can't. That's a poor choice of words. You're not going to reach your profitable plateau if you don't have something to offer to your potential clients. You got to have something that gets them in. So with that being said, let me go ahead and say this. Join the free school community. I'm going to leave you a link in the show notes, in the description. Join the community. And when you join the community, grab the Client Generating Podcast Blueprint. It's free. The community's free. Get in here, and what you're going to learn is a little bit more of what we're talking about now. So be sure to click the link in the description. And while you're at the end of the show, leave us a review, man. Leave us a review. And that helps us be seen by more podcasters, creators, service providers like coaches and consultants. This helps us be seen by more over here at Podcast for Profit. All right. Now, when you get to the point that we're going to get back over here, when you get to the point that in 2026, you're trying to take it to the ultimate level, now's where you start thinking about this. You don't need a ton of stuff. Some of y'all just flexing for the gram, but not moving the needle in your bank account. So here's a list of stuff that you could buy, but this is what you really don't need. All right. So number one is the Sherman SM7B. Unless you're making $10K a month for your content, it looks great. It looks professional, but the pod mic or the audio technician mic is perfect. You're not Joe Rogan. You're not David Sands. You can aspire to be them, but you're not them. Stay in your lane. Be you. Study what they do, but don't go overboard with your spending. All right. You don't need an expensive video setup. You don't need a DSLR camera that costs you $1,500. You don't need a Sony A7. If you got an iPhone 17, iPhone 16, any one of the iPhones with enough storage, you are in business. And that's what a lot of folk don't understand. You don't need to break the bank when it comes to having a good quality podcast, having a podcast that's profitable. What you got to have is you got to have content that makes people be like, he talking to me. That's what you got to have. All right. You don't need a fancy soundproofing system. You don't need a $2,000 mic vocal booth built in your basement. You don't need a whisper room. You need a closet, some blankets, and a little creativity. If you want to spend $2,000, use that on some ads, use it on some coaching, use it on some funnel building. Don't use it on soundproof, all right? You put some blankets on the wall and let the sound rotate off of there, and then you good to go. You really don't, to get started, you really don't need $1,500 Pro Tools, Logic Pro X, a lot of plugins like Waves, and you don't need all of that. What you need is Audacity. You can pay $30 a month to get Adobe Edition or GarageBand. You're going to waste your time, right? And this is a pattern that I see with a lot of podcasters. Like I was sitting back the other day watching an episode of a podcast, and they're on the couch, and the podcast itself, the setting was great, but the audio quality was not as good as you would like for it to be. And then, of course, when you have conversations with people, they you a hater. No, I've been in these rooms. I've sat with these execs. I know what they're looking for. If you're trying to get sponsorships, then that's your thing. But if you're not producing a high quality show, they're not looking at you. So just think about that. See, I used to be like that, man. Once I got all of this gear and everything in the beginning, I was like, yeah. It had got to the point for me to where when I started buying gear, before I even had like my first season in, this was 2017, I was buying gear. I got a Tascam mixing board, took up half the room. You have to understand something. I was thinking I was still producing music. Shout out to my guy, DJ John Rock. We out of Spliff. We worked for Def Jam as Street Team Reps. We had our own label. We dropped a couple mixtapes, a few albums back in the day growing up. We knew all about that. All right. We knew about that. We knew about music. We didn't know about the business. And so when you start talking about the business, you got to think about this. Like, the real investment is not in the equipment. The real investment comes from your offer, your funnel, and your follow-up. Those three things is top notch. So you got to have a lead magnet that converts. For me, it's the client generating podcast blueprints. A step-by-step that shows coaches. It shows consultants. It shows podcasters, solopreneurs, how to turn their podcast into a client generating machine with no ads, no complicated funnels, just a simple system. All right. And then you have a simple funnel. I use ClickFunnels. You don't need it. You don't need Kajabi. You just need a landing page, right? You can use Beacons. You can use ConvertKit. No. Me personally, I like, if I'm going to use something, now for me, again, I invested, okay? I invested. I took a shot at me. I'm thinking, man, this is me. And that's how you got to think. Once you convince yourself that you all in, then you start to invest into your future. For ClickFunnels is the leading in marketing tools. I tried the agency group. I'm not going to say Kajabi was too expensive for me. Now I could use Beacons. I could use ConvertKit, but I'm going all in with mine. So I have a funnel. I have a place where people can listen to my show. I have lead magnets. I can do everything that I need to do. I could connect it to my email responder, or I could use the email responder with the side ClickFunnels. Simple as that, man. And then you got to have a clear offer. What are you selling? Is it coaching? Is it a course? Is it a membership? Is it a service? You have to have that complete offer. You don't want to just keep leading people on. You don't want to beg. Don't apologize. Listen, just say, if you want to go deeper, here's how. That's it. It's up to them. You don't want to be salesy. It's up to them. If they want to take the leap of faith and join your community, guess what? They'll do it. Now, when you have that, you have the follow-up game. That's pretty much where you're at. The follow-up game itself, they don't follow up in emails. Most podcasters do not follow up. If you had somebody who clicked on a link and you got their information, follow up with them. Send them, nurture them. Send them the nurturing series. Back in the day, Russell called it the Seinfeld series. Send them a follow-up. That's more important than a mic, period. Teach them, nurture them, entice them. Don't be salesy. Just do everything you need to do. You sitting here thinking, I need to upgrade my gear so I can grow my podcast. I need to sit around and come up with this and come up with that. No, you need to flip the script. Upgrade your offer, upgrade your funnel, upgrade your follow-up. Period, point blank. And then you got to have a mindset shift. Quit thinking of this as a hobby. So that means you're a hobbyist. So that means you need to start thinking of moving like you the CEO. Hobbyists, they wait for the perfect time. CEOs, they just start and then they upgrade after they get into it. Hobbyists say they need their sound so everyone can hear. CEO says my voice is my clarification mechanism. Hobbyist is going to say, I hope that somebody finds my podcast. A CEO says, I'm going to promote this thing like the rent is due. And then they go and do it. So that's the difference, man. That is the difference when it becomes your gear in 2026 and starting from the bottom and moving your way to the top. Now, I know we covered a lot. I had planned to cover a lot. But in 2026, the podcaster who wins is the one who doesn't have the best mic. They have the best, the clearest, and the cleanest offer. All right. So I'm going to leave you a link in the description. Join the school community to get the client generating podcast blueprint. It's a 2-step funnel for every coach and solopreneur. That's what they need. It's the anatomy of high converting lead magnets. It's a plug and play system, man. You ain't got to worry about DMs, calls, none of that. It's going to walk you through how to generate content driven strategy strategic podcast, And guess what? It's completely free. So with that being said, click the link, join the community. It's free. And I'm going to see y'all on the other side. Remember, I came from the block. I made it to the boardroom, and you can do the same. And also understand this. Your voice is your asset. You need to do one thing, and that's use it. Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to Podcast for Profit. If you got value today, share this episode with a creator who's ready to level up. And make sure you hit follow so you never miss the moves we're making. If you're serious about turning your podcast into a business, tap the link in the show notes to join the Solo Empire Network and get the tools, coaching, and community you need. I'll see you in the next episode.